Morning chaps. I'm going to be doing a bit of fixing on the chicken house this morning. So, do you remember how I left it last week? I had taken out the box, so I had now got this big hole and I'd just propped a little stilt in this gap which I've taken out because I need to make it the correct size. But yeah, this is how I left it. So that's my first task of the morning. Looks like the rain is staying away for the time being. In fact, it's actually sunny, which is glorious. So yeah, but that's what I'm getting on with today. Lovely. So I've said before that the main structure of the house is still absolutely fine. It's really strong. I just have to replace this leg on the corner here where the box has come out and cut that down to the right size so that it stabilises the roof. And then it's a case of patching the two holes, which is going to be done with exactly the same mesh that the rest of the cage is made out of. I'm just going to fill in the gaps. We've got quite a lot of this mesh left over from various other projects, so they're just going to go straight on and then be screwed in to the wood around them, which should be absolutely rock solid. It's going to take a bit of jimmying the shapes around because this end has got a narrow piece at the top and I've just got one big wide piece, so I'll take that piece at the top off and patch it with a larger square. I'm using cable ties just to hold it in place while I attach it with proper screws because it's a bit difficult to screw and hold it up at the same time. But that's pretty much it for the outside structure. I am going to need to replace the door completely. The door was where the damage was, so I'm going to take the whole door off its hinges and remake that, but I'm not doing that one today. Internally, I've got a few bits to fix up. These roof struts are going to have a couple of extra brackets put on them at the bottom just to hold them in strong, but the wood itself is perfectly fine, so there's no problem screwing into it. I don't need to replace any of this. It's been really dry and protected under the tarpaulin, so it hasn't rotted out. Between these two roof struts, I'm going to put in a piece of wood going between the two of them. This isn't really structural. It's because we used to have the chicken's food hanging from underneath the box that I've now removed. And so I want to put in something here, which is going to be where we want the food to be. And that's going to hang off this hook right here. The only patch where I am having to replace some wood is on this top corner here. The piece had rotted out. It's not a major deal in terms of holding the mesh up, but it does need to be replaced. So I'm putting a new piece of wood in there, which will hold this back post just a bit more steady. And that is pretty much it for the main frame, chaps. Right, job done. Good morning. Sun is out again, briefly, and my job today is to paint the roof of the chicken house within a chicken house. It's all been washed off and it's dry. It's going to be slightly awkward because I'm going to be painting it inside the shed because the rain showers are coming over so frequently. It's just like sun, rain, sun, rain, sun, rain, and that would be really annoying if it just started raining while I was painting it. So I'm going to be doing the first coat crammed inside the shed this morning, and yes, it is pink. We went looking for more paint of the same colour that we've painted our actual shed, which is like a dusky purpley sort of colour, but they didn't have that. It's been discontinued, which is pretty upsetting. So I don't know what we're going to do when we need to repaint the shed, but we decided to go with pink. There was a lot of colours there which were awful, and this was the best of a bad bunch. But I wasn't convinced when we bought it, but now actually I've started putting it on. I quite like it. So yeah, this is going to be my job today, skirting around in here. I've got to admit I quite like painting. I know a lot of people absolutely hate it, but I quite enjoy it. caught a break in the rain, and it was beautiful sunshine, and we've just got up here and hello, by the way. It is Sunday, and I mean, are we even going to have a summer this year? We'll have a cup of coffee, that'll sort us out. Wait for this to pass again.
No, it's blowing that way.
Okay, the rain has pretty much stopped, so I'm going to get on with what I was supposed to be doing before that. Oh, the rain is going again. Anyway, I've got a hot chocolate. It just felt more appropriate because of the terrible weather. Don't normally drink hot chocolate in August, but you know. Let me show you what I've been up to in the chicken house. Hot. Ah, the sog. Everything's so soggy. Lily's not soggy though, are you, Lil? Good spot.
Good spot, Lil.
Right, so this is where I left the chicken house last time. We are all fixed. The extra leg is in. Solid as. No movement in that whatsoever. Any of the screws that had fallen out from the side here have been replaced. All of this is back to being solid. This is the new panel. Very nice. Just fitted in perfectly, which was more luck than judgment because I didn't have any means of cutting it up here anyway. But yeah, all of this is really solid and pretty much ready for the girls on the outside. The door obviously is a different matter. That is yet to be completed. That is somewhere that needs all new wood. But the frame itself is solid, it's just the door. This is the new bit of wood that I stuck in. Yeah, pretty pleased. The floor is somewhere that we need to do quite a lot of work. Under here, we had rats make a house under here because it was so dry. It was perfect for them. But they couldn't actually get up into the cage because of the chicken wire, which was pretty lucky. So that's all pretty solid. I'm really happy with that. I've bolstered all the corners and it's solid as a rock basically. Obviously the door needs to be like taken off and totally fixed. That hasn't been done yet. And the other thing is to do with the floor. So where I just showed you the chicken wire, there's 2 layers of chicken wire under there that is unbroken, it hasn't been damaged, but it has kind of risen up in areas. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these feather boards, which are for fencing normally, but I'm going to use them as a bit of a skirting board sort of thing around the bottom of the chicken house, and we're going to build up the layer of the floor, which will give the new girls something to kind of form a dust bath in, which is nice. Currently, because they kind of kicked it all around over the last, gosh, however many years it's been, there was only a couple of areas where they could form a really decent dust bath, so we're going to raise the level only a little bit, but just enough to kind of compact over the top of that chicken wire. And then we've got some really big sized bark chips to go in there, so not little ones, but the really big kind of chunks of bark, so that will go on one side. Dust bath, bark chips, skirting board, all that kind of thing. Also pretty happy with the first coat of pink roof on the mini house. Obviously it needs another coat, but looks pretty decent. Yep. What do you think of the colour? Yeah, it's looking good. I'm really excited about getting some new girls, so hopefully they like their new house. But there's a slightly less exciting job I've got to do today. In fact, it's pretty depressing. Our outdoor tomatoes.
Do some dedicating, I think.
Okay. Just look at the state of these poor things. I mean, the weather has been absolutely prime for this. It looks very much like Blight, but I'm not actually convinced it is Blight because it's not spreading the same way that Blight does. And there's about 4 or 5 different things that can look very similar to Blight, but aren't. But to be honest, Blight or not Blight or something similar, these are a goner and I don't want it spreading. Such a shame with all the flowers. So I need to take them out, unfortunately. They are goners. We've had a couple of red tomatoes off them, but not very much from the outdoor ones at all. What with there being no sunshine. Anyway, yeah. But I'm going to take them out just as we are about to leave because I don't want to be touching anything with any of that on it or whatever, and then walking around the allotment and like God forbid it gets into the polytunnel. So I've got the door closed in the polytunnel and just fingers crossed really. Just going to get them out, stop them spreading. Before I get on with any of that though, I'm going to finish my hot chocolate. My unseasonable hot chocolate. Where's the summer, chaps? Okay, so one of the reasons that I'm not going anywhere near the Blighty tomatoes just yet is because I've got to feed the tomatoes that are in the polytunnel. I've also got to water, which seems bizarre because I'm like squelching around outside. But yeah, they do need a water and they need a feed. And I'm going to use some Comfrey feed, which is actually a bit of a discovery because do you remember me saying that I'm using liquid seaweed? Or I have been up until this point because I moved my Comfrey last year and it just didn't, because we've had such a terrible start to the year. I say start, we're more than halfway through. We've had a crap summer is what I'm trying to say. But the Comfrey plants really didn't kind of get going. So I haven't made any more Comfrey, but I've just been rooting around in the back here next to the greenhouse. There's another aeroplane, sorry. Yeah, I've just been rooting around here next to the greenhouse and discovered a little bucket. And inside is some sludge. It's Comfrey feed from last year. I remember this was the last batch I made, but I completely forgot about it. And I've looked it up. Apparently it lasts more than 1 year, so this should be perfect. So I'm just going to strain it out and use it, which is quite exciting. What a find! Yay!
Did that go in the centre?
Yeah.
Good. Well done.
Oh, sludge in the bottom of that.
Oh, that was the brick.
Yes.
Do you want to rinse the other one out of it?
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
I'm just mixing this up very vaguely about 1 to 10 and then let's feed those tomatoes. Okay, Mum is just prepping the end of this brassica bed because we've got something new and exciting to go in. So these arrived in the post yesterday and I'd completely forgotten I'd ordered them. And they are something called Kaibroc, which I have never grown before, but is a cross between broccoli and Chinese kale, which sounds exciting. It's like a tender stem broccoli, but really super tender stem, so you can eat almost the whole stem, apparently. I ordered these from Delfland months ago, and what I really like about Delfland is not only have I never had poor quality plants from them, but I often order stuff right at the beginning of the season and you choose the delivery month, and I invariably forget firstly what I've ordered and when I've chosen to receive it. So it's always a fantastic surprise when things arrive. So we were rained off last night, but currently we've got patches of blue in the sky, which is pretty exciting. And my first job is waiting for me down at the gate are 2 frames. Now, do you remember me saying that I'd got a new bed? Like a bed, a sleeping bed rather than a vegetable bed. Well, I did. I not only got a new mattress, I actually got a new bed base as well. It's a divan bed, or it was a divan bed. It was completely broken because I had 2 drawers in there which I'd absolutely rammed full of all the stuff that I didn't want to get rid of. But really I didn't want, so I just hid it under the bed basically in these huge drawers, and it busted it. Anyway, so I've replaced the divan bed. I've now got 4 drawers, by the way, instead of 2, so upgrade. It's just like 4 drawers full of junk now instead of 2 drawers, but still. The size of my bed is a queen size bed, which is 4 foot across, so it's like just slightly smaller than a double. And by beautiful magical coincidence, the size of the beds up here, vegetable beds this time, are 4 foot by 8 foot. So what I'm hoping is that they're 4 foot, the beds are 4 foot. I'm just hoping they're going to fit as like pre-made frames for the beds, and we'll cover one in, because there's 2 of them, 2 halves, one in the same stuff we've got over the polytunnel, so we'll have like a bed for lettuces over winter, and one with some netting or enviromesh. Haven't decided whether it's going to be butterfly netting for really young brassicas or whether I'm going to go down the like enviromesh route, so it's a bit like the carrot box. But yeah, so that's the job for this morning. Okay, the moment of truth. What do you think? Is it going to fit? That is pretty nice. Look at that for a beautiful fit. And on the other side, oh, it's just gorgeous. Okay, I am well happy with that. I'll just go and get the other one now. The other one needs a little bit more work because it has, this is the side that didn't have drawers in it. The other one had drawers, so it's got a couple of beams at the bottom, but I can cut them out. But yeah, they're both the same size, so, oh, God, I love it when things work out like that. There are so many bees trying to get into these happy single flowers. I love dahlias anyway, and the dahlia bed has been really fantastic this year. But of all of them, even of the open ones, this happy single is just a favourite. The whole plant's practically humming. It is a beautiful sight. Doing that, Lil? That pluff tail you've got. You've got a pluff tail. It's so pluff. So I've got to pick some tomatoes from inside the polytunnel, and obviously I don't want to go anywhere near the tomatoes that have got the problems at the top before I do that. So I'm going to pick this. I'm going to open up the polytunnel, pick the tomatoes, and then close the polytunnel down again. Do some other stuff, and then take those tomatoes out right at the end when we're leaving. Then we can just bag it up and take it home with us. So the things that I do have to do today is pick the tomatoes from the polytunnel. I'm going to pick some of the Cima Rapa, which is what we're going to be having for dinner tonight. I am going to do the second coat on the roof of the chicken house. I won't make you watch that again. You only have to see me painting it once. You can just see it finished and beautiful at the end. What else do I have to do? I also need to pick some calendula flowers, which I'm going to put in the dryer when I get home. I've never done anything with calendula flowers before, but I know that Katrina at Homegrown Garden and also Danny on Plot 81, they both make like a face oil out of it. So I'm going to have a go at that. Yes, I am. I'm also going to try making calendula tea. So many options. I don't want to say anything. It's not raining. It's not raining. Well, it's not a completely sorry state in here, but it certainly doesn't look like it did last year. We do have some tomatoes. It's not like it's a complete barren wasteland, but I just keep picturing last year's tomatoes where by this time we just couldn't eat enough of them. So it's a little bit sad, but still, there are definitely enough here to be getting on with. Just no big ones, like no slicing tomatoes. And you know, like cherry tomatoes are all well and good, and they do taste 100 times better than you can ever buy them in the shop. But cherry tomatoes in the shops can taste all right. It's the big, fat, gorgeous slicing tomatoes that you just cannot find anything remotely like your own in a shop. And that's the ones we're missing. We've got none. Or none that are ready. There's a couple that are kind of lurking in the background, but they're not colouring up at all. So, but I remain hopeful. All we need is, you know, a couple of weeks of sunshine, and we'll be go. I'm sure we will. We'll be go. Some of these are really pretty though, even though they are tiny. Look at this one. This one's called Cima. And then this is one of my favourites. This is Garnet. They are a spectacular tasting cherry tomato. And then we've got obviously Brad's Atomic Grape, which has got every colour on it. Absolute beauties. Then we've got a stripy Derby stripe in here. Bit of a yellow splash on him. That's about as big as we've got so far, to be honest. And there's a nice yellow one down here, which is Sundrop. Bit of basil. I mean, I'm moaning, but that's not a bad haul. And I know that a lot of people have lost all their tomatoes this year. Lots of people on this site have lost all their tomatoes this year. So really, I'm not complaining. I am thrilled that we're getting anything out of them. It's just a shame when you remember like previous years. It's like, oh, God. Okay, let's get some calendula flowers. I think she's looking rather beautiful. I've got the first coat on the little extender section too, and now I'm just varnishing the wood for a bit of extra protection. Okay, we have closed the polytunnel and we're going to head off very shortly, so I'm going to go and do the sad job of taking out the tomatoes up that end. It is such a shame having to cut off all this beautiful fruit, but I mean, it's not going to happen. They're not going to do anything, so may as well just take them off. I'm going to save some of them and we will use them for green chutney. Normally, if you're taking the green tomatoes off at the end of the year, you can ripen them up, you know, on a window ledge or in cardboard box or something, and they will ripen. But these ones, there's blight or similar, much the same in the stems. It's never going to happen. They're just going to rot off. So I'll be using them for something green tomatoey. Yeah, I mean, you see how these tomatoes look fine, but where the stems are going black, like this guy, you see, where they just get this weird texture. I mean, they're never going to ripen and they're just going to rot. But some of them look alright. I mean, look what happens. It just looked terrible. Such a shame. Such a shame to be throwing all this away. But the bits that are left, so some of those green ones, I'll use them pretty sharpish. And hopefully we'll get something out of them, even if it's just a bit of green chutney. And there we have it. The outdoor tomatoes are no more. And I'll see what I can do with these. Oh, that one's a bit dod. I'll have to throw that one away. I'll go through these again when I get home. But hopefully we've got something in there that's salvageable. Okay, well, it's just starting to speckle with rain, despite it still being quite bright. We've got the chicken house in the shed, so that's protected while it dries. And now I'm all covered in nasty, like rotting tomato blightness. I think it's probably time to go home. I don't really want to be spreading that around. So I think we're about to call it a day. I've got to do a bit of picking as we leave. So I've got some French beans to pick. And oh, I tell you what I do have to pick is a load of Cima de Rapa, because that's what we're having for dinner. So I better not neglect that. I'll do that now, and then we're heading home. I didn't sow this very long ago, but we've already had 2 pickings off this. So quite a lot of it's very spindly. It's kind of, although it's supposed to bolt, like what you're picking is the flower stems, they're meant to be really chunky like this one. So thick stem with a flower spike on top, but I'm getting a lot like this, where they're just a bit spindly, but they still taste just as good and they cook just as well. So I'm not too fussed. I'm just harvesting absolutely everything. So all the flower stems, everything that's coming up. And then they'll just go again and we'll have another couple of pickings off them. So, but I pick them all at once, because if you leave any of the flowers on there, especially the really spindly ones, if they kind of go to flower, then the whole thing's over. So I just take absolutely everything off. And like I say, it's all edible. So win-win, really. I do have to remember to get another sowing of this in, though. The other half of this bed is going to have another load of this in, so we should be able to tide it over quite late into the year. It does have to be covered because the birds absolutely adore it. But yeah, that is quite a good haul. And we are going to head off home. Cheers. I'm just going to put the calendula in the dryer to get them started, and then hopefully I will have the oil making in next week's vlog. But to be honest, I don't know how long it takes, so it could be in like a month's vlog, I don't know. Clueless, I am. Totally clueless, but I will find out. So this dryer was a birthday present back in March from my dad. And we haven't had a great deal of things to dry in it so far. I've tried rhubarb, which was pretty amazing, to make rhubarb tea. And I've used it for red currants, which were gorgeous. And what else have I done? A couple of mushrooms and lots of herbs. But really, I think it's going to come into its own later on in the season. I was hoping to be doing masses of sun-dried tomatoes, but obviously that's not a thing. So obviously we've done masses of herbs and oregano and all that kind of stuff for storage. But this is my first go at drying flowers. So we'll see how it goes. Okay, well, we'll see how they dry out. There's plenty more where they came from if it's a disaster, but I've got high hopes. Anyway, I'm going to keep this bit really, really short because although I didn't seem to have done much this week and it rained most of the week, it seems to be quite a long video. A couple of things to say. Firstly, the weather is looking better next week. But thank you to everybody who watched my stuffed courgette recipe last Thursday. I had some really fantastic feedback about that, so that's nice. And also a fairly unanimous vote on, yes, a whole load of like different stuffings as an extra video to go along with that one would be useful. So I am going to do that. What I do have to do though is wait for the courgettes to grow now, because we were picking them all really, really young. I had that one really large one. But now, because we haven't had a great deal of sunshine, there's loads of really small courgettes, but they haven't like really grown really quickly. So I've just got to wait a couple of weeks or like a week until they've really kind of plumped up. And then I'll be doing like 5 ways to stuff a courgette episode. Yeah, that's what I'll be doing. But Other than that, I think, chaps, that is me signing out. Oh no, wait, there's one more thing. Happy International Cat Day. Cheers.